one of the things that first got my attention is how Aditi is referred to as the goddess Aditi, the goddess Aditi. She's the mother of all of the demigods, and just specifically, and she's like being addressed. Goddess Aditi said, and so Aditi is offering prayers. She's continuing with prayers. She's been offering prayers ever since she was given that instruction from her husband, what to do, Kashyapa. So in prayers, I was looking at one of my spiritual master's book of prayers, Bhakti Center Maharaj, and he shares 10 different types of prayers. And he explains that there are 10 common types of Vaishnava prayers. And he says that these 10 forms of prayers have been used by all of the acharyas. And specifically, he is mentioning Narottam Das Thakur in his book, the Pratana book, the songbook that he wrote. And in there, he's using one of these types of prayers. And he also explains that Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in so many of the beautiful, wonderful prayers that he writes, that he also uses some of these different types of prayers, Vaishnava ways of praying. And here we see that Aditi is praying in this type of mood of offering a prayer, and it's called Sampartanatmika. And that's words of direct prayer to the Lord. So there's 9 other ways that Vaishnava prays. However, in this way, Aditi is praying directly to Krishna, directly to Vishnu and Vishnu. And what I could gather from when she started offering these prayers is that Aditi, at first, she couldn't believe that Krishna, the Lord, appeared to her. She was just amazed that this was happening. And so in the beginning, she just fell and offered her obeisance. And I believe it's Burjan Prabhu that says, traditionally, women, they don't normally offer their dandavat. They don't normally offer full dandavat in prayer. But however, Aditi was so stunned that the Lord appeared in front of her that she just fell down and offered her prayers as in the form of a dandavat prayer. And Prabhupada explains that her body was trembling. She couldn't believe Krishna was actually appearing to her. And when she offered these prayers, her voice was Prabhupada explains, faltering. She couldn't even get the words out that she wanted to say, because it was such a shock to her whole system that Krishna appeared. And I was just imagining what that could possibly be like. You know, when I think of just what it's like for us being in the presence of Krishna's devotees, you know, sometimes we don't see a devotee, especially one of Krishna's servants, one of Krishna's representatives that's serving in the mood of the spiritual master. Sometimes we may not see such a person. And then when we see them and we get an opportunity to say something, I can remember so many times in my own life having that experience of, oh, what do I say? How you know, we become a little bit stunned. What to speak of seeing Krishna personally, that I can just imagine what that must have been like for Goddess Aditi. And so she, though, started offering her prayers. And what's really, really wonderful about these prayers that she's offering, and this one in particular, is that Aditi, she followed like a etiquette of offering prayers. And one of the etiquettes about offering prayers is to glorify the Lord first, right? To glorify the Lord, to say things about the Lord that just to be able to share who the Lord is, and to really understand that, that this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and share things about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Aditi, she became fully absorbed. She was fully absorbed on Krishna, and exactly in the way Kashyapa Muni told her. She did follow that entire process, as I shared earlier. And in 12 days, Krishna appeared to her, in 12 days. So it wasn't like she was performing the sacrifice for a very long time, And so this is quite amazing that Krishna was so pleased with her that he appeared. He appeared, to fulfill whatever it was that she wanted. And so here now she's glorifying the Lord. She's going to speak glorification of the personality of Godhead. And she does this in 3 different prayers. And so the first prayer she says is, "O Master and enjoyer of all sacrificial ceremony." And so in the Bhagavad Gita, we know that Krishna is giving so many instructions to Arjuna. However, in the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "Aham hi sarva yajnanam bhoktacha prabhu evacha." And the translation is that I am the only enjoyer and master of all sacrifices. Therefore, those who do not recognize my true transcendental nature, they fall down. And so Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he explains about this prayer that Aditi is making. "O Master, enjoyer of all sacrificial ceremony." And he says, he explains that that austerity and charity and deity worship is the essence of all devotion. And so the essence of the austerities that Aditi was performing, the entire purpose of it was to please Krishna. Of course, that's everything that we do is the only reason we do whatever we do as devotees is to please Krishna. So Krishna was very pleased with Aditi. And so now she's saying to him, like, okay, you're this person that everything is emanating from. You're the cause of all causes, and certainly, you're the enjoyer of all sacrifices, of all austerities. So Aditi was very, very clear with the fact that whatever she was doing was only to please Krishna. That she was very clear with her intention. Her intention and her focus was to please Krishna, knowing that Krishna is the benefactor of all the different sacrifices. There's another verse where Krishna says that, I believe that's Bhoktaram Yagyatapasham. That's another verse that in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna is helping Arjuna to understand about sacrifices and who these sacrifices are meant for. Because as we know, when we read the Bhagavatam, there are so many different types of sacrifices that are offered, and oftentimes many of these sacrifices are offered, to devas, to the demigods. And so Krishna, he's helping Arjuna to understand his supremacy, who he is. And so this clarity of who we offer sacrifices for is very, very important, because there are hundreds, maybe millions of people in the world that offer sacrifices. However, they have no knowledge that the sacrifices are meant actually for Krishna. And so, so that's in our own life, it's important as teachers to be, because we never know who our audience may be when we're teaching. And so if we have an audience that perhaps they might worship some of the devas, and perhaps they make offerings to the devas, it's very important for us to be clear, to be able to explain to them that these offerings are meant for Krishna. And Aditi, Goddess Aditi, is helping us with this clarity. And then Goddess Aditi goes on to share with Krishna, with Vishnu. She's sharing. She says, "Oh, infallible and most famous person, what names when chanted spread all good fortune? What names when chanted spread all good fortune?" And so here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is explaining to us about this, about the importance of chanting. Now, as Vaishnavas, we know we have innumerable places in the sastras that we could go to learn about how important it is to chant, the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. One verse that always kind of catches my attention is that verse in Bhagavad Gita 10:25, where Krishna says to Arjuna, "I am the chanting of the holy names, japa." And he specifically is saying, I'm the chanting of the holy names, japa. So Prabhupada says, chanting of the holy names, he's explaining, is pleasing to the ears. And it expands good fortune to the audience who hears it. And it's a proper mood. There's a proper mood to chant for Krishna's pleasure. And so when we're chanting the holy name, the holy names, it's key. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains to us in the Shashtakam prayer, there's a certain mood that we need to develop in order for us to chant in a pleasing way to Krishna. And that mood of chanting, we've heard this over and over and over again as Vaishnavas, aspiring Vaishnavas in my case. However, that mood is a mood that for me, I'm constantly praying to develop this mood, which is Chinada Pisa Hishina, Taroriva said Hishina, Amani Namani Dida, Kirtaniya Sada Hari. So in this verse, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains that one must think themselves lower than a blade of grass, and one must be more tolerant than a tree, and devoid of all sense of false prestige. And always ready to give respect to others. And he says, if we can develop this mood, then we can easily chant the holy names of the Lord. So this mood of humility for chanting the holy names is so very important. And so here, Aditi is calling Krishna infallible. He's a master because Krishna is the cause of all causes. And so Prabhupada says here, actually, Krishna explains to Arjuna in the very beginning of the Gita, in the very beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna calls Krishna infallible. He calls Krishna, oh, infallible one, Achyuta, he calls him. And we know that Achyuta, this means, this word Achyuta is Krishna is infallible. And so he's asking Krishna, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see you who is present. And so Krishna is serving Arjuna. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that because Krishna, he mentions about Krishna never giving up on his promises to us, to his devotees. And so because Krishna never fails in his affection for his devotees, and he takes pleasure in serving them. And so here, Arjuna is calling Krishna infallible, and he's calling him Achyuta infallible, because Krishna is always taking pleasure in serving the devotees. And so, as you know, Krishna drew the chariot for Arjuna. And so he's carrying out Arjuna's orders without hesitation. He's not even stopping to think about to do it or not to do it. He's a servant, right? Krishna is playing that mood in this particular scenario of being Arjuna's servant. And so yesterday I was listening I was thinking today we may not have many people on this class because everybody's at the yatra, because everybody's trying to, this month of Kartik, trying to really hear and chant the holy names of the Lord and hear about the holy places and hear, from the pure devotees of the Lord. So yesterday I was listening to Srila Radhanath Maharaj, and yesterday he spoke about Sanatan Goswami, and he told so many beautiful stories about Sanatan Goswami. And we know that Sanatan Goswami, he actually he was one of those personalities that spoke to Haridas Thakur. But something that caught my attention with Radhanath Swami at the yatra yesterday was he shared something and that this devotee actually sent to me this morning, which I thought was really amazing that we were thinking about the same things that Radhanath Swami was sharing. And he said, he was talking about, this is a quote from Maharaj from yesterday, and he was saying that real compassion is not selective. He's speaking about compassion. And he said, it is a state of consciousness where we understand that Krishna is within everyone's heart. And wherever there is life is a spirit soul, and Krishna is with that spirit soul. Still, within our heart, Krishna is our very personal, intimate friend and lover, who is just seeing from the perspective of being our ever well-wisher. In this spirit, a devotee is grateful. Whatever situation comes, we know that Krishna is still with us to give us shelter. And then he's speaking in the mood of sharing Sanatan Goswami and helping us to enter into that mood of Sanatan Goswami. And he says, what really gives value to something is our bhav, our love, our appreciation, our gratitude. This is what Sanatan Goswami is teaching us. And so when I think of this purport, this verse of Mother Diti praying, of Goddess Aditi praying, and I it's just so wonderful to hear how this mood of Sanatan Goswami, this mood of really having this love and appreciation and gratitude. And these are the things that His Holiness Radhanath Swami emphasizes ever since I was born in Krishna consciousness, born in the sense of when I joined Krishna consciousness, which was in 1979. And my Guru Maharaj introduced me to Radhanath Swami, or I got to know Radhanath, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, ever since 1999. Radhanath Swami, 1979. His Holiness Radhanath Swami has been saying these words: gratitude, appreciation, love. These are words that I've heard from him again and again and again and again. And now this is 2020, and so here he is in this mood of Sanatan Goswami. And as I looked at Radhanath Swami, when he was speaking, I could see just how absorbed he was with wanting to have the devotees just enter into this mood of Sanatan Goswami. And so in the Harinam Chintamani, Sanatan Goswami gives many, many, many examples of this mood of chanting, of calling on the holy names of the Lord. And he's very instructive in how he speaks about chanting. And one of the lessons that I've somehow gleaned from Sanatan Goswami and is this mood of being attentive to the holy names of the Lord. When we chant, to chant attentively. During this Kartik month, this very beautiful month, we have this opportunity as devotees to really focus, like Mother Aditi, right? She's focused in prayers, and chanting is another form of prayer. So to focus on the holy names of the Lord and focus in how we attentively want to chant it ourselves, chant the names ourselves, so that we can give this name to others, and so that we can encourage others in how to be attentive to the Lord. And His Holiness Sachinandan Maharaj and Burjan Prabhu, for many, many years, they would do these japa retreats. And I believe this is the first year that perhaps maybe it won't be done in Vrindavan. However, their focus is on assisting devotees, to chant the holy names with care and with attention. And one of the lessons I learned from going to those japa retreats is this valuable lesson of chanting, hearing one mantra, hearing the mantra, and hearing the name of Hare, Hare. His Holiness Sachinananda Maharaj will often emphasize, be sure to hear those first few lines of the mantra, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And so this chanting of the mantra of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, it's, this is our lifeline. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came to give this to us. There's so many pastimes to help us to understand why to chant Hare Krishna, why to give this to others. And I'm very excited to hear, I have a devotee friend that lives at the Bhakti Center, Rajasaki, and I believe her service is to go in Harinam, and to chant, to sing the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And I was thinking how glorious of a service that is for anyone, to be able to give the holy names of the Lord to others. And in order to do that, we also need to be very internal with the holy names of the Lord. We also need to take the holy names of the Lord in the seriousness of how it's offered to us by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in helping us to, really be attentive to the fact that the holy names of the Lord is to help us in our conditioned state. It's Krishna appearing himself as the holy names of the Lord in the holy names. And so there's so many beautiful, wonderful devotees that speak and sing about the holy names of the Lord that is in our Hare Krishna movement. That is just like so exemplary. I was also thinking of, I was invited to give class in West Africa a few days ago, and to give Srimad Bhagavatam class. And this was in Nigeria and in Ghana. And so because by Krishna's mercy, by the mercy of my spiritual master, one of my first services, as I shared the last time I gave class, was to go to West Africa. And so now getting invited, so that was in 1980 that I went to West Africa. So now it's 2020. And to get invited to give class there and to see the enthusiasm, of these devotees and the excitement, how excited and how enthusiastic that they are to hear and to learn and to imbibe this mood of the holy names. For me, it was just so inspiring. And I could only appreciate, as Srila Ranat Maharaj says, I could only appreciate those devotees that gave their lives, to bringing Krishna consciousness to West Africa, to His Holiness Brahmananda Swami, who actually left his body in Vrindavan. So this mood of giving the holy names, as is explained in all of the scriptures, gives us benediction. It's the best benediction for the living entity. So Brahmananda Prabhu's, when I was in Nigeria, he was Swami, but Brahmananda Prabhu, he spent so much of his life in West Africa when no one was there. No one. He was there alone, actually. And his dedication was to Srila Prabhupada and to give the holy names of the Lord. That was his dedication. That was his focus. And so when we went there, when Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj sent us there, that was the move to go out and give the holy names, bring this to the people of West Africa. And so Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj also gave his life for this. So we can see even in our modern day Vaishnavas how potent and how Krishna, when he appears in the holy names, and when his holy names are taken seriously, it can change the world. In that case, I saw that it changed a continent, actually changed a continent. So these holy names of the Lord are so very potent and so very powerful. However, in our small little world of ourselves chanting, oftentimes we find ourselves, at least I find myself, not always being attentive, not always valuing the real essence, the real meaning of Krishna in his holy names. And so for me, I thrive on hearing devotees like Achyuta, Gopi, and all these younger devotees that have such tastes for the holy names, and devotees that are going out on Harinam. This is just the most, inspiring thing for at least devotees like myself. I am very, very grateful. And so then the last part of the last prayer that Aditi is offering to Krishna is, she's saying, Goddess Aditi, she says, "Oh, original Supreme Personality of God, oh, original Supreme Personality of Godhead, Supreme Controller." Then she says, "Shelter of holy places." So she's knowing, she's having all this understanding about the glories of the Lord. And so she's saying all of this before she expresses what her desires are. And she says, "You are the shelter of all poor, suffering, living entities. You are the shelter." And then she says, in the end, she says, "You have appeared to diminish their suffering." You can't. So now she's like getting ready to make her request. So I'm suffering because my son is being taken away from his, service. Indra has this amazing service, and of course the demons, they've disrupted. They've made a disruption, and so she's now like, "Okay, my dear Lord, I know that you've appeared to diminish the sufferings. At this time, I'm also suffering. So many people are suffering. However, she's suffering because of that calamity of the demons taking away the service of her sons and the place of her sons." And so then she makes her request, "Please be kind to us and spread our good fortune. Please be kind." So here again, she's just illuminating this whole understanding for us of how to approach the Lord. Oh, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Oh, Supreme Controller. Oh, shelter of all holy places. And so when I hear this prayer calling out of a deity, again, back to that mood of Srila Radhanath Maharaj and Sanatan Goswami of appreciation and being grateful, I am just thinking, because I used to go on yatras, with the devotees from Chowpatty. Every time I could get an opportunity to go, I would go on those yatras. And I am just meditating today. This is, I think, the third day or something, or third or fourth day of the yatra, maybe third. And it's amazing what they have accomplished by the internet. I'm just like, only Krishna's devotees can utilize their intelligence in this way to bring the holy places to the devotees through the internet. And it's just so, it's just ecstatic, actually. I guess I could say that. It's just really ecstatic. And so with so much gratitude for these devotees that sat together to try to see how do we do this? How do we bring the holy places to the devotees? And so the holy places. Prabhupada explains that Krishna is Tirthapat because he's the source of the Ganges. So this is in the purport. And he also says that all holy places are at Krishna's lotus feet. And whatever he touches with his lotus feet becomes a holy place, right? Whatever Krishna touches. And whatever Krishna, wherever Krishna displays his pastimes, because it's a holy place. So here we have these devotees that are taking visually, virtually, devotees to all of these holy places, or many, not all, but many holy places, where Krishna actually performs some pastimes, or some pastimes occur there. And I was thinking of how, again, just I'm just meditate because I meditate on Srila Raghunath Maharaj because of how dedicated actually he's been all of his life, all the times I've known him, all my life, all my Krishna conscious life, most of my Krishna conscious life, how he has created the holy places. He's created the holy places with the help of the devotees in Echo Village. And someone can go to these holy places. And now we're getting, if someone cannot go to Vrindavan or Mathura or Kurukshetra, where Krishna was there, so that became a holy place. If someone cannot physically go to these holy places, then Srila Raghunath Maharaj created this in the Echo Village, where people can go there and get the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And now those devotees are bringing that virtually to all of us. So Prabhupada says, Samaham Sarvabhuteshu Name Dveshosti Napriyaha, that Krishna reciprocates with his devotees, right? Krishna is equal to everyone, but he's inclined to his devotees. And so the fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita also explains that by worshiping Krishna on the path of bhakti, a person is awarded whatever he or she wants, whatever we might want. And so Krishna rewards the devotees according to the different intensity of love. So this is the point, the intensity of love that we saw with Goddess Aditi, the intensity of love that we see with these devotees that are doing everything possible to virtually bring the holy places to the devotees, the intensity of love of Srila Radhanath Swami, and how he's making himself available to bring us into the mood of these great devotees like he did yesterday, Sanatan Goswami, and the mood of the devotees that gave their lives to assist people all over the world to learn how to chant the holy names of the Lord and to teach about the holy places. This is the mood of this prayer of Aditi today. And so then she finally makes her requests. And her request is, please be kind to us and spread out good fortune, which means remove Bali Maharaj, get rid of him and replace him with my sons. That's the real request that I would want. And she had so much faith. She had so much faith that she knew Krishna would do that. And so similarly for us, if we chant the holy names of the Lord, and if we have faith, whatever is troublesome in our hearts or in our environment, certainly will have no place to create miseries for us, because the holy names of the Lord is our protection. The holy names of the Lord is everything. And the holy names of the Lord is Krishna himself, who actually brings us to his lotus feet. So I thank you so very much. And yeah, I think I went a little bit over time. So, Gaura Sharan Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for bringing out the mood of prayers and also the glories of the holy name. I have a private question, and also there is another question in the chat. So the first one is like, how do we, it was sent personally, so I'm not sure if it's supposed to be anonymous, but the question was like why does anyone like feel boring when they hear these prayers, or like sometimes whoever is asking is saying when they read prayers in Srimad Bhagavatam they find it very boring. So what is the reason for this? How to overcome that?
the person is asking about prayers and how they may find the prayers boring. That's an interesting question, and thank you very much for that question. Vandanam prayer, that's one of the 9 processes of devotional service. So by chanting Krishna's holy names, we get purified to appreciate how these great devotees are praying to the Lord. So each individual person, each one of us, Krishna is dear to every one of us, and Krishna reciprocates with every one of us. So when our desires become strong to really enter into the mood of prayer, then Krishna will grant that. Krishna will grant that. So if we keep chanting, and if we keep reading the prayers. I had a friend that she used to write prayers, Divyambar. We lived together in Mayapur, and she had a book, and she would just write prayers. So write your own prayer, and then, yes, that's a way of entering into prayers. However, as we chant, we get a taste for the prayers of these great devotees. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Thank you for the answer. There is also another question. So from Anand Bihari Prabhu, how do we know if the decision we are making in Krishna's service is actually pleasing to him? This is in reference to the point that you made, how the chanting, austerities, and the sacrifices, that all that we do is meant to please Krishna, like Bhoktaram Ege Tapasam. So he's asking, how do we know if the decision we are making in Krishna's service is actually pleasing to him?
This is the reason why it's recommended that Vidi Paripatena, Paripashena Sevaya, Upadeshanti Jnanam, Yananastava Darshanaha, that one have a spiritual master and hear from the spiritual master in a certain mood, which is a mood of submission, to be submissive, to submissively hear. And as we hear attentively, and as we hear submissively from the spiritual teacher, spiritual master, mentors, then that is the way to accept the direction and instructions of the spiritual master.
Thank you very much, Mataji. I had a follow-up for the first question, even though it's not my question. I thought a follow-up, but I thought of asking Anand Vihari Prabhu's question first. I see the darshan is can be open anytime, but my follow-up question is whether it is prayers or chanting, the heart doesn't feel really eager, at least not always, especially when you're saying going to these yatras, being in certain association can be very encouraging. However, why don't we always have that kind of enthusiasm? It's very difficult to have. So how do we develop that?
So this might sound a little harsh. However, this is what is in the sastras. To the degree that we minimize sense gratification, to that degree, as we minimize sense gratification, we will become more enthusiastic and more joyful in Krishna consciousness. The gap between becoming joyful and not being joyful, right? There's a gap. And yes, we all have that gap. All of us do. However, in that gap, the more we hear, the more we chant, the more we minimize sense gratification, then then that's the process. Our only distraction is our desire to enjoy. That's on us. We got to check with ourselves constantly and keep chanting and keep hearing and keep serving the devotees. Keep serving the devotees.